Good morning and welcome to Rising. We've got another great show for you today. It is Monday morning and I am back with Bofta. Nice to see you.
Hey, good to be here. Back again.
Yes, back again. How was your weekend?
You know, it was filled with toddler play dates. Nothing that nobody wants to really talk about, probably. But lots of fun. I always have a good time. But yeah, you know, it was a pretty good weekend here in D.C. It was, you know, pretty decent weather one day, okay weather another.
It was a good weekend for one of my favorite athletes, Rory McIlroy, who won the Masters. That was really exciting. Grand Slam. I'm not a big sports guy, but I do love golf, and I love Rory McIlroy, and I'm super happy for him, as will, I'm sure, Niall Stanage, our other host on this show. He will be very happy, I'm sure.
Now, do you golf?
I golf occasionally, not very well.
Not very well. Get your golf game up. You know, this is the season. This is the season. So it's also the season for a lot of things that are happening in D.C. We know that things are happening rapidly. You've got a lot on your radar. Let's get to it.
Well. Another day, another mainstream media narrative that President Donald Trump is losing ground in terms of his popularity. The Democratic Party desperately wants this to be the case, of course. But are they finally right? Are normal, working-class, everyday Americans starting to lose confidence in Trump? Not so fast. For a sobering dose of reality, let's turn, as we so often do, to Harry Enten, CNN's pollster, who has now made a career out of disappointing his more obviously partisan liberal colleagues. In a recent segment, Enten took a look at Trump's numbers on a key metric. Which party do you think cares more about the needs of people like you? Now, this one should be a layup for the Democrats because they've always beaten the GOP on this particular measure. The Dems are like mom, more compassionate, more inclined to take care of you, more of a there, dear sort of vibe. Republicans historically are the party of dads, strong and austere, telling you to go out and get a job and solve your own problems. Yet, take a look at the polling on this who cares more question.
Cares more about the needs for people like you. You mentioned it, Kate Ball. We got a tie, even after this tariff war had already started, split between Democrats and Republicans on how people feel which party cares more for needs of people like you. And why is that so surprising? Because I want you to take a look at prior years. Democrats always lead on this question. Back in 2017, before the 2018 midterms, 13-point lead. 2005, a 23-point lead for Democrats. 1994, which was a big Republican year, a 19-point lead for Democrats. And now, all of a sudden, a tie?
Enten goes on to explain that this poll result means that Democrats retaking control of the House in the midterms is far from guaranteed.
Take a look here at the generic congressional ballot. Where we were in April of 2017, Democrats were already ahead by 7 points. In November of 2024 on this question, it was a tie, and then, of course, Republicans won control. Where are we now? It's Democrats, but just by a point. This looks very much still like what we saw in 2024, not like what we saw in 2017. If Democrats think they automatically have a ticket back to control of the House, I'd say, hold on a second, Republicans still have a real shot at this, despite all of Trump's theatrics.
Enten goes on to comment he is surprised the GOP is in such good shape given the tariff war, but he can't deny it. Trump really isn't suffering some kind of collapse in terms of his support. This is despite the fact that, the tariffs themselves were not a particularly popular policy. They are an outlier in that regard. Most of the things Trump wants to do are incredibly popular. That includes cracking down on illegal immigration, deporting violent gang members, keeping biological men from competing in women's sports, cutting waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government, firing unnecessary government employees, and promoting an America First foreign policy that involves spending American taxpayer dollars at home rather than overseas. On all those policies, the Trump agenda is incredibly popular. The tariffs, on the other hand, do not poll so well, to be fair. A majority of Americans think that Trump's proposed tariff policy went too far. Now, of course, the tariff policy has already been amended, and markets have reacted hugely positively to the news that the Trump administration is working to negotiate deals with other countries to bring trade barriers as far down as possible. Voters still trust Donald Trump to deliver on his promise to create widespread economic prosperity, or at least they trust him more than they trust the Democrats, who are still reeling from lack of a unifying message. Democrats don't even know how to press their momentary advantage if they had one, due to the tariffs being unpopular. One reason for that is many progressive left-wing Dems actually supported tariffs until about 5 seconds ago, or still do. Take Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, for instance, who recently made these remarks during a speech.
I understand the motivation behind the tariffs. And I can tell you, here's where President Trump and I do agree. We do need to make more stuff in America. More cars and chips. More steel and ships. We do need fair trade.
What? Isn't she supposed to be a leading Democratic candidate for the presidency? Didn't Dem media elites and insiders want her to be the VP or even the nominee in 2024 if they could have somehow elbowed Kamala out of the way? Yet Whitmer basically agrees with Trump on trade? It's really incredible to me how lost the Democrats are on how to counter him. In fact, during a recent visit to the Oval Office, Whitmer actually appeared to try to conceal her face when the media tried to take a picture of her. She didn't want anybody to know she was there to have a meeting with Trump. She literally put something in front of her face like this. Whitmer has been mocked endlessly for this hilarious display, including from fellow liberals like Keith Olbermann, who said, "It's rare you get a shot of the exact moment a politician's career ends, but there you go." The Democrats are still in need of a leader who understands Trump's appeal, can respond to it, counter it with anything other than mixed messages. So I say the polls show that Trump's still on track. His party's on track. Not necessarily, it's a ways out to get killed in the midterms, even though that's usually what happens to the incumbent party. What do you make of all this?
Well, look, I think there's a couple of things. I think there's a lot of people who say, yes, we want things made in America, but at the same time, it's how they're going about doing it. If you want to change the way manufacturing is done and really want to make sure that it's made in America and that we have more of that control over it, that's going to take time. And so same with the layoffs. It's how he's doing it. There's a lot of people who would agree. There's a lot of government waste, no doubt about it. But how you're going about doing it. I also would argue that, Democrats, they yes, have a terrible problem with messaging right now. But at the same time, there have been some wins. So if we ignore that, I think that that's something that is a disservice to the conversation. Look at what happened at the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Look at the amount of protests that happened within, a week of that happening as well. You had Senator Cory Booker, who held the longest Senate speech. You have some wins that are happening for the party. That doesn't mean that they've got a great leader and one unified voice, and I'm certainly not saying that. But there have been some wins, and I think we have to acknowledge that they're making some headway. Look at what's happening with Senator Bernie Sanders and AOC. Anytime they're showing up, it's like a concert. I mean, Coachella, hello. But, anytime they're showing up, it just seems that there is this underbelly of support for let's do things differently. We don't like the way things are being done, and let's make sure that we're at least moving in a direction where we're gaining some momentum with whatever we can do. So I think you're seeing it with Senator Cory Booker doing what he did, AOC and Bernie Sanders. The problem is, how do you scale that? And that's where I think that they have a problem. How do you scale some of these things that are happening?
And do they have an increasingly small number of people who actually do have a message and can draw crowds, like maybe Bernie Sanders and AOC, but there's only two of them.
That's why scale is the word.
Got to be nearing retirement age one of these
Well,
years.
look, he's going strong. I mean, 83 years old? He's just got a lot of fire. I mean, they just need that whole fire to get into the party better.
It could be a fire festival, maybe.
Well, I'll let you take that one.
We'll we will be discussing the Coachella appearance in a little bit. But up next, is political violence on the rise? A suspected arsonist is in custody following attempt by him to set fire to Governor Shapiro's home in Pennsylvania. Successful attempt, really bad damage to the building, although no one was harmed. We'll discuss. Stay tuned. That's coming up next.